Hey everyone, my name is Gilberto and we are back again. This is going to be Season 2 of the PGBL, a draft battle league that I help run, and every second of it during Season 1 has been so much fun. This is going to be Season 2. I feel like I've learned a ton through Season 1, and being a part of the NPCC for a brief period of time, I feel like I learned a lot about battling, drafting, team building, all those types of things, and I definitely want to bring it in here to Season 2, and I definitely just want to get into some picks really quickly. So I actually had the third pick in the draft, and that's going to be important because for the second season in a row, Banana had the number 1 pick, and I have to play her twice. She is our rival. She will be a big part of getting into the playoffs potentially, and with her number 1 pick, she selected Naganadel. That definitely played a big part into my thinking for my number 1 pick, and with that number 3 pick, I had to go ahead and pick up Celesteela. Now, Celesteela is a Pokemon that I would have normally never picked just about a month ago. Then I actually had a lot of fun using it for the first time in VGC recently, and I think it kind of opened things up for me a bit. I learned about ways it can be used and just how good it can be. I'm definitely excited to try to use it well, and it definitely impacted the league a lot more than I thought it would last season, where there was a penalty for Beast Boost Pokemon, and that's when the meta was still young. These Ultra Beasts could kind of take everybody by surprise and snowball with Beast Boost. Now that's not as much of an issue anymore, but a lot more UBs were drafted. Obviously not gonna deal with the first pick, and then I had to go with Celesteela. I think it's a fun Pokemon to build a team around, and it's just so versatile, so bulky, can also be offensive, can also run Autotomize. After using it, it really is a solid Pokemon, especially against a Naganadel team. But yeah, like I said, from here on out, it's going to basically be trying to build around this Pokemon and trying to have it thrive as much as it possibly can. And with that, the second pick is, of course, Kyurem Black. Now, Kyurem Black, definitely wasn't expecting it to be available to me at the end of the second round. And look, in all honesty, a lot of the reasoning behind this was because it was available, because it was there, and I thought it would be a lot of fun to use. I've never used it before. I definitely want to. Terravolt is a fantastic ability, and just against certain opponents in particular, I feel like Terravolt could really come through for me. Things that would normally be switch-ins can no longer be switch-ins with Terravolt, and the more a team is weakened, the better that'll become. This was a bit of a pick that would mutually defend each other's weaknesses, so this is an electric resist for Celesteela. I definitely am still going to be looking for fire resist and ways to deal with fire. That'll certainly be coming fairly soon, but also Kyurem's steel and fairy weaknesses get defended really well by Celesteela. I thought they would fit really well together, and again, it was there. Those base stats, you can see them right there. They're nuts. And on to the next pick. So I should say, I did scoop up Mega Garchomp during the draft. Again, I wanted a fire resist, a solid electric resist, but by the time, you'll probably see this, I've already elected to drop Mega Garchomp and pick up Mega Sceptile, and it does some of the same things. Obviously, it's not going to be as bulky, but Mega Sceptile is going to give me a speed tier that I desperately need. It's still going to be another electric immunity. It's not going to resist fire in the way that I really wanted to build this team, but I think I have enough that'll still punish fire types well enough later in the draft, so I think Sceptile should be covered well, and I desperately need a grass type. A fast grass type, I should say, as you guys will later see. Mega Garchomp definitely felt like a good idea at the time, definitely covered up some weaknesses that I needed, but ultimately when I looked at my team sheet at the end, Garchomp and Kyurem kind of did some of the same things. Sceptile gave me a lot more diversity, which I really needed on my team, and again, just more speed in general. And from there, my next pick was Gardevoir. At this point, I desperately needed a fairy type. I desperately needed a psychic type. And in all honesty, I felt like I had to pull the trigger on the fairy type now because fairies were going so quickly. There weren't that many solid fairies still running around in the draft at this point, but Gardevoir seemed like a fantastic fit. The only real knock that I would have against it is that it is a little bit slow for the format. It's gonna have to be Scarfed a lot. Being my primary psychic type, it can't really match up against Naganadel without a Scarf, and even then, Banana's gonna have the Galvantula Sticky Web support just like last season, and Naganadel could have those speed beast boosts going on, so I really can't rely on Scarfed Gardevoir to do much for me, I don't think, throughout the season, but I still like it as a solid mid-speed tier Pokemon. I really desperately wish it was a little bit faster, but it can be especially defensive, and it can do a lot of things for this team, and especially tier 3. I felt like this is what I had to pull the trigger on in the 4th round. I was genuinely worried about too many good fairies being scooped up. Next, we have Swampert at tier 2. Now, Swampert's just a super solid Pokemon. In my mind, you cannot discount any Pokemon that have one weakness, even if it is a 4 times weakness, but they are so good in draft format. And even a Pokemon like Celesteela, where its dual typing protects itself such that it's cut down to only a couple weaknesses, that's really valuable. And Swampert, I really needed a solid water type. I already had Garchomp, but I really wanted another solid ground type to really punish fire types, because at this point I felt like I had enough electric support, but what I really needed was a way to not only deal with fire types, or even just force the other trainer to build them a bit more bulky, because they have to deal with something on my team. That was my main thinking. I think Swampert really balances things out well. Swampert's, in my mind, is one of those Pokemon where it's slightly bulkier and slightly stronger than you might think. Versatility can be built either way, physically or especially offensively. It really benefits it a lot. Good set of rocks, all that good stuff. In my mind, just a really solid pick overall. And this is the point in the draft where I really try and go for an overall team theme, where I try to start building some synergies, and that's why I picked up Politoed. Obviously, with the Drizzle ability, we're going to be bringing Rain quite a bit, and we already have some synergy happening between the Swampert, between the Kyurem Black, and the Rain. But even just on its own, it's a Pokemon that can be bulky, and definitely more so than you would expect. In the Rain especially, its Skulls are going to be doing more. So much like I was saying about Swampert, it's going to be doing just a little bit more damage than you would expect, and it's also going to be able to take hits just slightly better than you would expect, and I feel like it's going to cause some sort of situations where it's really going to mess up the opponent's prep somewhere down the line. But yeah, with this pick in particular, like I said, I was really starting to go for some synergy and some team cohesion here with the previous picks, and definitely you're going to see with the next couple picks. And then of course the next pick, we have Drapion, right? So at this point, I was really upset about not being able to get a Alolan Muck. Again, Pokemon with one weakness, very, very valuable. I really wanted to mess around with hazard stacking. It's not really a way that I generally like to play, but I thought this would be a good opportunity to try to set up Toxic Spikes. As you can see, it's a Pokemon that can have a lot of physically defensive bulk, but we do have a decent amount of special bulk as it is with the Gardevoir, with the Politoed. At this point, it kind of felt like we needed a little bit more of a defensively bulky Pokemon that we can bring consistently. And again, can get hazards. I think Elemental Fangs, so it can be a bit versatile in that way. And just strong in its own right. You can never discount Stab Knockoff, and it's a pretty great speed tier to be able to Scarf. So Scarf, Stab, Knockoff. Always really wanted to try that out. In honesty, on top of possibilities with Toxic Spikes, this is not a Pokemon that I get to use too often, but it is one that I'm so excited about using. And at this point in the draft, definitely needed a strong poison type. There are going to be plenty of fairies running around, and I thought this would be a great fit for that purpose, as well as, along with Celesteela, kind of mitigating those really strong psychic types that I know are going to be running around. It doesn't do any one thing great, but I really like what it can do. Just again, in my mind, a really solid all-around pick. And next, a bit of just a fun pick for me. I scooped up Ambipom. Personally love Ambipom. I think it's fast. We really needed some team speed overall. The fake out support is huge. Pokemon that I drafted in the NPCC. It's a Pokemon where you really don't realize just how fun it can be until you actually use one. And I just had a lot of fun using it. But it's just so versatile, and it's just going to be so much more versatile with the move tutors in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. And again, it's just a speed tier that I desperately needed. As much as I like these kind of versatile, bulky Pokemon that can do a lot of things, I really started to need some faster offense. But next, we have Fortress. Fortress is definitely a Pokemon that I wanted to experiment with. I desperately wanted it in the NPCC. It was picked just a few picks ahead of where I would have been able to have it, but it just does whatever you need it to do. It can set up every entry hazard. It can also spin them away. It can pivot out with that slow Volt Switch, and it's so slow that it can deal enough damage in its own right with a Stab, Gyro Ball, and it also gets the standard stuff like Earthquake, so it can wear down a team. It just sticks around with that wild 140 defense stat. It can do what you need it to do. It's a Pokemon that I desperately wanted in the NPCC after I saw how Josh used it in Season 1 of the PGBL, and I think I could have a lot of fun with it. I am so excited to use it. And here we go, on to our final pick. I had enough points for a tier form pick. I knew that I had to scoop up Ludicolo, and I dared the entire Discord, all my fellow coaches, to see if they could guess who I would pick, because I thought my final pick was unsnipeable. Apparently it was, because nobody took it. And of course Ludicolo is great. In rain, it's going to be the real Naganadel killer. You guys can forget about Celesteela, that Kyurem Black. This right here is going to be the true Naganadel killer. But in all seriousness, its type can protect itself decently well, especially in rain. Scalds get powered up in rain. It can heal itself up with the Giga Drain. Ice Beam for coverage, and we are mostly set. It's definitely bulkier than you would guess. It can take a hit, and then it can absolutely wear down a team, if not sweep, in rain late game after a team's been worn down already. I've never really gone in this hard with rain ever, but I would love to try, and it's just going to be a fun thing that opponents will have to think about. I can definitely see myself bringing Politoed most weeks, but I probably won't bring Ludicolo most weeks. But when it is there, I know it's going to make an impact. People are going to sleep on it, and it's just going to have a fun season. I'm absolutely positive about it. And more importantly, I'm going to have fun using it. But in any case, that's going to be it. These are your Season 2 Brobats for the Pokemon Global Battle League. Once the season starts, it is incredibly gratifying. It is genuinely a lot of fun. I think we have a fantastic group of people. Everybody's links will, of course, be below. But with that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be once again out.